Good morning from day 2 of the Wheat Quality Tour as we get geared up. It's a cool and foggy morning here in Colby, Kansas. Our destination today, Wichita, via western and southwest Kansas. Let's get a recap of day 1 and see how the wheat went with Kansas Wheat Commission CEO Justin Gilpin.
I think the day went pretty much like we expected. Crop conditions were 58% good to excellent as of Monday's report, so we expected to see a crop that was a little bit better than last year for sure, and that's the way the yields were calculated. We saw moisture conditions were pretty good when we got started, but as we went from the east over to the west, we saw the crop conditions and moisture conditions start to get a little bit more dry, especially that topsoil condition. What really was highlighted with this year's crop was the double crop wheat. Wheat that was planted behind soybeans or corn is much farther behind. You can tell it hasn't had the tiller count, and so those were the fields that we saw that were going to have probably less yield potential. The crops that were planted, that were earlier planted in the fall and September, those are the fields that had the higher yield potential and probably brought up the average for the day.
Gilpin also has an update of what we could see in terms of wheat quality on day 2 of the wheat tour.
Well, we're going to see probably variable conditions. I think a lot of the western Kansas wheat did get planted before we had a lot of the fall rains, and so we're going to see wheat that's rooted down, established, good tiller counts. As we go through the western part of the state, as we start to move back to the east, I think we're going to see, especially as we move into those areas where we had some double crop wheat, we're going to see a little bit lower tiller counts, crop that isn't quite as mature. And I do think the one thing that the tour hasn't been talking about enough is we are going to start to see some dryness that's starting to affect this crop. We'll see that through that west central area because it has been a pretty dry April. So I think those are the things that crop scouts are going to be looking for.
Reporting from Colby, Kansas on day 2 of the Wheat Quality Tour, I'm Clay Patton on the Rural Radio Network.